By Paramahansa Yogananda and explained by Swami Kriyananda. So today's verses are taken from the chapter The Nature of Right Action, verse 59. The man who merely abstains from sense enjoyments may forget them for a while, but the taste for them will linger. That person, however, who beholds the Supreme Spirit loses the taste for anything but the infinite. Master writes in the autobiography of a yogi, in the chapter where he's sharing about his training with Sri Yukteswarji in the ashram. And he talks about many different aspects of the training. And in one, he talks about a devotee who goes on a long fast. And Sri Yukteswarji was one who was very practical, and he did not encourage extremes in the pursuit of peace or freedom on the spiritual path. And so when he hears about this devotee who wants to go on a long fast to perfect his practice, he says, why not throw the dog a bone? That even as you're fasting, even as we make a discipline of that process, what are our feelings telling us? What is the mind chanting? And this is very common on the spiritual paths. I used to fast every Sunday for a long time, and the practice almost became the law. That every Sunday, I'm fasting, no matter what the situation or what the occasion. Everybody would have food, but I would be, I don't eat on Sundays. And we do not realize, people appreciate it, you can fast 6 hours, 12 hours, I wish I could do that. And we do not realize that the purpose of fasting was to feel God's presence within you. But we don't realize when we shift the attention from God to the practice itself. Sunday, I fast. What is God's will? Maybe He wants you to have food today. But God is so far from hearing and, from the sense of taste and smell and sight that we remember the practice. And which is why we see that masters through the ages are persecuted. Christ was persecuted by the priestly authority of the day. They found him blasphemous. And this is the power of delusion when we try to perceive reality through senses. Especially as senses, the information which is not impregnated with the reality of spirit. And we begin to detest the spirit in favor of the law. And part of the reason is, as Krishna is reminding us, those sense impressions are so strong and we have gotten so comfortable and invested in our pursuit of them that we forget the reality and we think this is the reality, and righteousness, self-righteousness comes in and subverts our understanding totally. This is the power of the senses that can even call God a liar and a blasphemer. Master was persecuted. Swami Kriyananda was persecuted in trying to revive the spirit of the teachings that Yogananda brought. And may we remember that in our fasting, every discipline that we try to practice is a form of fasting. But the purpose of that fasting needs to be fasting of our self-will. When we fast from our self-will, then divine will is able to use our body, mind, and spirit as a channel for His light. And that is also what this verse tells us, that until you behold the Supreme and taste of that sweetness, your sense impressions cannot be cleansed. And so an aspect of that practice, it's not only about being in samadhi, but an aspect of the practice is also to be able to practice God contact through your discipline. To be able to remember that the purpose of the discipline is God, which means to be in tune with God's will even as you perform your practices. This is very important and a very subtle and lethal aspect or a lethal way in which the ego tries to trick the mind. And I want to share another aspect of this verse. We know Kumar, who is a young student in Sri Yukteswarji's ashram. Sri Yukteswarji loved him, and a wonderful boy who is zealous in serving his guru, but also has his own challenges to overcome. And over time, he asks Sri Yukteswar, or rather tells Sri Yukteswarji that he wants to visit his hometown for a visit. And Sri Yukteswarji does not give him the permission, but he chooses to go. And he is gone for a few months, probably. And when he is back, the students in the ashram realize that this is not the boy who left this ashram. The stately Kumar, serene, noble, was gone, and in his place, Master writes, was a peasant, common, undistinguished. And Sri Yukteswarji said, if he would have been in tune with his guru, he would not have fallen. He says the callous world must still be his guru. That our senses, and especially when Krishna is telling here that they linger, that the battle is not easy, that over repeated incarnations, the senses are the doorways through which we perceive this creation of God. And if we do not balance that perception, one of the things that the verses also invites us to consider in this verse is a sense of perspective. That we are quick to seize the moment and make it comfortable for us. And we become little islands, vortices of likes and dislikes in that process. But are we able to live this moment with a depth of perception where the goal, our image, our true nature is always within our sight? That God is where we come from, just like a child knows he may be loved by many adults. But he knows at the end of the day, he goes back to his parents. He knows where he is, where he needs to return. And likewise, many are the beautiful appearances of this world, but may, through our experience of the senses, may we also know that it has all come from that one parent. And our enjoyment of that experience must also, therefore, be taken home and enjoyed with the parent. And that is when our sensory impressions begin to lose their hold over us. It is a conscious practice. Because time and again, reincarnation, swathes of memories from the past, it is also talking about the power of the subconscious mind. That for a moment you think, I'm over this temptation. And I remember this happened to me once. I forget what it was about, but something happened through the course of the day, and it just came to my mind, this has no power over me. And that night, I was given that same situation, and I leaned towards it. I didn't realize the delusion in the dream. After I woke up, I was given to remember, well, I'm not completely over it. Because in my subconscious mind, I still leaned forward to experience it. God gives us experience every day that the senses are not our final frontier in experience. Every day when we go to sleep, we are not aware of this world. We are not aware of anything that happened through the day. What happens when we sleep? And so God tells us that we need to withdraw our energy and plant our perception in soul consciousness. Through our children, through our spouses, through our friends. Also, we begin to learn expansion. The gradual course of our evolution is a course of expansion. You're born into a family, you begin to learn to love, to expand your awareness, to include others' happiness in your sympathies. Then you get married, you have a family, now you're thinking about the family. And so even the natural course of evolution is that expansion in awareness. However, even this expansion is limited. This expansion is limited because attachment binds it. A parent may know that a child in a distant part of the world is suffering. Two friends who love each other may understand that there's something troubling my friend without the spoken word. It explains a certain expansion of consciousness. However, it does not go far until we place God as that central reality through which we experience, through which we love our children, our spouses, our friends, everyone. God needs to be the central reality through which our senses perceive this world. There is a story in the autobiography about how Master, as a young boy, he's sent by his father to Swami Pranabananda. And he gives him a letter that needs to be delivered to Kedarnath Babu. And Master, of course, is young. He's an avatar, but you again come into this world to help your brothers and sisters, your friends, and you take on the cloak of the ego, and there's a veil over your consciousness. And Swami Pranabananda sees him and, of course, divines who is this child in front of him, what is the purpose of his visit. And Master is baffled. How does he know? I did not even speak. And then, of course, Swami Pranabananda, as he says, goes into inscrutable silence to fulfill the mission that the child is sent there for. And very quickly, he hears Kedarnath Babu coming up the stairs. And Master wonders, what happened here? And Kedarnath Babu says, and Master asks, how did you know that you are needed here? Because I didn't see Swami Pranabananda sent any messenger to call you. And he says, what are you saying? I just saw him at the ghat where I was having a bath. And Master is completely bewildered. Who is this person sitting in front of me? How does he have two bodies? You see, the senses are not that final frontier of experience. We need to go behind our experiences and touch the heart of being, which is spirit. Swami Kriyanandaji would say, from the center of your being to the center of another, we need to build a bridge of God's love. And we cannot fulfill it by loving through form, by loving personalities. We need to learn to love God. We may use the form as a way of seeing God. However, because we are bound by the senses and the ego, we very quickly get trapped by form. And that is why Master said, first love God. And then our feelings are cleansed and they know how to be directed in a higher experience of love through people and the world around us. We come to this world to celebrate God. Wherever we are in this world, wherever, we come to celebrate God, His joy. And in that celebration, let us call to our senses to proclaim, God, God, God. Let's take a moment to close our eyes and visualize. Visualize in your being the divine presence awakening like a lotus flower. And reaching out to share this divine awareness, this divine love with situations, people, circumstances that we may presently find as a challenge. Let us see this light expand to encompass As Krishna says in this verse, the Supreme Being. Visualize this light expanding to become one with that which you felt separated, with that which you felt overcome or challenged. And now training your senses, training your sense perceptions to see the light behind it, to see the light in it, and to embrace that light. See in that embrace torment, egoic impressions dissolving their hold over your consciousness. A vast sea of light flows from you, in you. Visualize all your sense definitions. I am a man, I am a woman, I have this talent, I am not strong, I am not good at this. Whatever our self-definitions, offer it into the stream of light and see yourself the little wave. Holding close to the bosom of Spirit. God, God, God. Whatever attachments, conditions, expectations we may have, let us resolve not to allow those expectations to disturb this light, to condition and circumscribe this light. And let us take into our consciousness this prayer of Master. Teach me that my senses contact nothing but the good. Bless me that I may behold nothing but that which is good. Teach me that I may touch only purity. Train me that I may listen to thy voice alone in all good speech, and in the beauty of all lovely melodies. Direct me to breathe only the perfume of pure sense from the flowers of spirit. Invite me to indulge only in the wholesome taste of soul-nourishing food. Teach me to absorb only that which reminds me of thee. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.